superpower, my superpower, my superpower, oh yeah, my superpower, my superpower, my superpower, oh yeah. Anywhere I go, shower me with magic and miracles. I illuminate my light anywhere I go. I am alive. I am alive. I am alive, and all is well. I am alive. I am alive. I am alive, and all is well. I stepped into my superpower, my superpower, my superpower, oh yeah, my superpower, my superpower, my superpower, oh yeah.
How's it working? How's it working staying busy to not feel?
It's not achieving that goal, no. No, it
We
just
can get epically busy, and
Yes.
yet we're just where you've run from how you felt.
Yes.
And did you do that for a long time in your life?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
And have you been stepping into doing something differently?
Yes.
And in coming upon someone's ascension, we're here to even be able to step into that completely differently. Because in the past, commonly what you hear people is that when somebody ascends, it like there's so much emotion. It's so overwhelming, and it takes you out. Like you feel that, like you said, you feel the heaviness
Yeah.
of his ascension. And if we believe that that experience is going to be so heavy, it's what the world does. We've seen it many times where people, oh, this is so heavy, this is so hard. And then you go down a road that you've experienced before where somebody else ascended, and that was very heavy. Because did you experience that with your mother?
Yes.
Did your mother ascend? Yeah.
Yes.
And do you require doing that again?
No.
Okay. Because what in my experience, what I've experienced is that with clients is that they've had an experience, and then someone else ascends, and then it's like, oh my gosh, I'm back here again. Feels the same again. Do I have to do this again? And what we're remembering is that no, we don't have to do that again. We now know that if you remember, there is a massive, where people always talk about celebration of life, and celebrating who the person was while they were on the planet, and how joyous how they are returning to being that person in a whole other dimension, like in heaven, and they're being able to be freed of anything that they believed in here on earth, and that they're walking completely differently. But how we do the celebration is to speak into all the joy, and yes, we may have some sadness, but if we are, it's very similar. I seem to remember, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm seeming to remember something at retreat, because I remember speaking into just a memory of my children, literally my children being in the kitchen when they were little and eating watermelon, and how it made me so excited. And then when I went to go remember it, I was like, oh, I wish they were little again. And then you create sadness on top of it. And that is that living in the memory and holding the memory where it was actually created. Or is that believing, it's believing in something totally differently. You're actually, in my experience, it's really just muddying how joyful it was.
Yes.
So do we require, when someone ascends, do we require muddying all of that? Or can we just, it's available for us to be able to really speak into the joy of who the person was on earth and the moments that you had with them, and to really feel the joy that was there. That's a memory.
Yes.
That's the truth of a memory. We mucky it with that we got to be sad as if it is no longer available to us. And can anyone take your memories?
No.
No. And a memory can be very powerful. And what we always say is, if we've been there once before, we can do it again. Remember, everything's repeatable, right? Every pattern we've shifted is repeatable. We can, if we flipped it before, we can flip it all again. It's the same thing. If we have a moment with someone that was joyful, we can remember it and feel that joy in us and keep that person in that space inside of us.
Okay.
It's the belief in the grief of separation.
Yes.
And we were taught to be sad.
Yes, that's why everybody always wear black, and we all got to be all this. And you see some of that's transitioned. People speak into celebration of life, but then sometimes people are yet to fully step into the full celebration and staying into the joy. And we can do it differently. And whoever is, there may be somebody else that's experiencing it differently. In supporting them, we don't require going with them down that journey. Do you hear that?
Yes. Yes.
Because I've had many friends that are like, oh my gosh, I gotta go be there for her because I know how she feels. And I'm like, are you gonna go back there with her? Do you require going with her?
Yeah.
Or can you stay in your joyful memories and just stand next to the person?
Yes. Sure.
And remember, everything is by agreement. And he has served, he's done and completed what he was here to do.
Yes.
And I'm aware that you have had the experience of even continuing to call on your mother in a different way and how she shows up for you.
Yes. In a way that she never did before.
Does she have a whole new set of tools?
Yes. And so do I.
Yes.
Yes.
And what have you learned from all that you've done so far about feeling?
To be in it.
And what happens?
When you name it and you're in it, it can pass and move.
And how fast does that happen?
So it happens as fast as I let it.
Because have you had the experience of letting go of massive grief?
Yes.
And what's been on the other side of your letting go of grief?
Joy.
Whose joy?
My joy.
And who else is receiving joy because you have loved your grief? And
My family, my mother, my kids, I mean, all those that are around me have received that joy because I have it.
Mhm. Awesome.
I love that we're here to do what people call the grieving process completely differently.
Mhm.
I remember when my grandmother transcended, and I I did have sadness about her moving on. And is that what stayed with me? No. I was so grateful that she is where she chose to be, that she finally gave that to herself, and that she was with the men who loved her, and that she had massive ease in her body. And I'm still aware of her being around me. And I've had experiences. I had an experience one time. I was like, Ganny, how do I do this? She's like, just rip it. I was making curtains and she loved to sew, and was using her seam ripper, and I could hear her. And we believe that that's just ourselves talking to ourselves. And yet it is love speaking to us from another plane.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we asked you to jump in with us and talk a little bit about your experiences with being with Carrie and I in classes, and even more specifically on retreat. And my first question is, do you recall what it was in you, or that you heard, that created I'm going to this? Because you didn't know, either one of us. You'd never been to one of our classes.
Right.
You received an email,
Yes.
random.
Yes.
And do you remember, can you share a little bit about that experience?
I had become aware that I was having a lot of ailments, a lot of pain in my body. And I knew I had been to every doctor. They just, I'd had all these surgeries. I had all these things happen. They just kept wanting to give me more medicine, do more operations, and it wasn't getting better. And I knew that I was carrying a load that was more than physical. And when I got the email, in the email, it talked about pain in your body coming from emotional, feelings, coming from feelings. And it resonated with me. I thought, oh my gosh, this has to be it. I feel this. And I said yes right then. I clicked the button and signed up. And as soon as I got done, I thought, what did I just do? But I, pardon me, I fought with myself. I wrestled with myself, and it was fairly short between when I signed up to when the retreat was. It was a matter of 3 weeks, I believe. And in that time, I did wrestle with myself. I shouldn't go. Should I do this? This is crazy. How could this even be? But I knew in me that this was what I needed to do. And so I watched, there was a body language video on YouTube, and I watched that, and I don't know how much of it I actually understood or how much of it I actually heard, but there was one thing that I heard, And as I'm driving to the retreat, I'm getting closer, and I'm like, I stopped at a little store and I just kind of dilly-dallied, and I thought, I can just drive past and go home. My husband will be happy that I'm back home. Do I need to do this? And the closer I got to the destination, and my GPS is telling me, just minutes, there was one thing from the video I remember hearing, and that was, I stay. And I just started saying, I stay, I stay, I stay. And I pulled up and I parked in front of the house, and I thought, okay, I'm doing this. And of course, I was the first one there, and I thought, why am I here? But it was it has been the most fulfilling, most profound change or decision I ever made in my life, because of the change that it brought about in me. I left that retreat feeling a decade younger, 1,000,000 pounds lighter. I had freedom when I left.
Will you speak a little bit about your experience on the body electronics table?
Yes. I had no idea what body electronics was, so what to expect or what to anticipate, there was no basis for that. But having the experience, trying to find the right words, it was a release like I had never known before. To be able to go to the feelings in my body where I've been holding them for decades upon decades, and to walk through them, but that's not even it. To let them go, to release them, to be free of them was incredibly empowering. Making my heart beat fast to think about. It cleared space. It made me feel freer. It made me feel lighter to let these things go. Things that I didn't need to be holding on to. They weren't helpful. They were hurting me. Literally, they were hurting me.
And do you recall what was the primary feeling that came up for you that you let yourself experience and let go?
A feeling that I was in complete denial that I had so much of. And that was anger. I was angry.
And when you entered the experience, what did you imagine? Did you have an idea or feeling that you believed was really primarily playing for you before that?
I thought it was sadness.
And do you remember what you did when the session was complete and you sat up?
I do remember sitting up. I remember I wanted to go to the restroom and I could barely walk. I remember that.
Do you remember looking at your hands?
Oh, yes. Yes. Yeah, I was, well, everything looked new. Everything. And when I when I saw myself, I saw my mother. that was amazing for me. That was healing to see and to experience that connectedness. Yes.
And what I recall is you looked at your hands and your arms and literally there was a look of awe on your face. And I said, I said, what are you experiencing? Do you remember what you said?
No, I do not.
You said, I've never seen myself before.
Mm. Yeah.
And Carrie and I were, once we completed the evening and we were back at the house, and we could see down the kitchen counter, and you were in the bedroom standing in front of the mirror and looking at yourself and flipping your hair as if this real?
Mhm.
And seeing yourself.
You were leaned into the mirror. You were leaned into the mirror. Like right up.
I
And
was
doing this and this. And
Yeah.
Did you see yourself brand new?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Awesome.
Mm.
And what about your experiences with some of the myofascial relief stuff that we did through breath and on the table? What were those experiences like for you?
Even just, I believe it was the first exercise we did, it was with breath. And even that just brought forth so much emotion. I think the breath was very, very pivotal for me in that I feel like I've held my breath all my life. I've never given myself permission to breathe until now. And to actually allow myself to take those breaths, and it just brought a flood of emotion. After every session, I just remember feeling just drained because it was so cleansing. On the table, that was powerful. That was, I didn't realize that that could take you places.
take you places. Will you be clear, a little more clear on that?
Literally, I was no longer in that room. I was with my husband. I went to the emotion. It didn't just come to me. It didn't come through me. I went to it in that moment.
So as I remember, your whole movement was coming home to you.
Yes. Yes.
And all the pieces of coming home to you in your body, and then being able to feel home in your connection with your beloved was the MFR piece.
Yes.
And so
Absolutely.
the whole retreat played all of the pieces of what home was for you.
And it all started with I stay.
Yes, and because what came up was being home in you and feeling you again.
Yes.
And then the next was to be able to have to look in the mirror and feel connected to your mother, who
Yes.
created you in
Mhm.
home. And then that MFR movement of returning to home, the home that you had built with your beloved.
Yes.
And
There's a theme.
when we speak into home and us, we're remembering that there's great security home and staying in our own bodies, that we have the ability to be with ourselves. And when we've had a lot of experiences that were traumatic in all different kinds of ways, that Shawn had, it's a great remembering to stay in our body, that it's okay to be with our feelings. And so, what's changed in your life since you first came back from the retreat?
When you returned home.
Where to start?
Thank you.
Now
Now that you're back in, now that you're
Now that you
home,
returned home.
Yes. My relationship with my husband is connected. It's, well, I'm present. All the years that we've been married, I chose not to be present, and I am now. So there's an intimacy that we didn't have before. My relationship with my kids, wow. There's a new connectedness. You're connected with your kids anyway, but now it's different. It's not just because I'm their mom. It's especially with my daughters and my sons as well, but especially with my daughters. We've connected on the level of kindred spirits. I don't know. It's this, I feel them, they can feel me, where I guess because I wasn't present before, I didn't have that experience. But I've now also had the ability to come into myself and decide who it is I want to be. What do I want to do? And fulfilling some of my dreams and goals that I've never even given an opportunity to think about prior to this, and having the confidence to do that. That's a major change.
awesome. And what are some of the ways that you've continued to support yourself since the retreat?
Continuing with the calls, being present for those, and going to another retreat. And doing coaching, and making the choice that I'm here to stay. I'm not going back to what I was before. I'm here to stay.
And do you believe, or do you feel the calls and the one-to-one support are massively supportive? Is there enough there?
Yes, it is massively supportive. And knowing that I can call on support whenever I need it, that's helpful. Yes, it's.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So you've done therapy before, yes?
Oh yes, a lot.
Okay, and so how do you believe that the experiences with Andrea and I are different from therapy?
This has given me the opportunity, instead of all my life, I have looked outside myself for my answers. Fix me, heal me, make me better. I'm going to go to this therapist. I'm going to go to his hypnotherapy. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go whatever. I was looking for anything. This is the first time that anybody has ever said, hey, the answers are right there in you. How empowering. It's I'm taking that power back, in that instead of looking to everybody else to make me better, it's been here all along. Just no one's ever given me the wisdom to see that, or to trust it, or been able to draw it out of me. That's one thing that y'all have never given me any answers. I get the, is that true? And my little catchphrase that I say all the time is, I guess. I find I'm not saying that as much as I used to. I do catch myself occasionally saying it, but I'm not guessing anymore, because I'm feeling confident. If I sit long enough and listen, I have the answer right there. It's here. Well, this has been incredibly empowering, whereas regular therapy never gave me any of that. We just kept rehashing the same old stuff. And here I've been able to take responsibility, go to the core, and love it and let it go. That's powerful.
Awesome. Massively powerful.
Yes.
And so what would you say to someone who is on the fence about jumping in, or either with class, pre-recorded classes, or retreat, or one-to-one coaching? What would you say?
If you've tried other modalities and they haven't worked for you, this is worth trying, because you're going to get results. And it's fun along the way. You know, you're worth it to put the time and energy into this, because the results are going to be massive.
And in your experience, are the results temporary?
No, that's the most exciting part. I occasionally make a choice to ignore my results, but it doesn't take long and I'm back in them. But I can't even ignore them, because they're me. I'm different. I'm not the same person I was before I went to retreat. That's for sure. And there's no going back to that person. So.
And what would you say to someone who is so scared, that may have, because we've had experiences where people are like, yes, yes. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh no, I'm scared. And what would you say to someone who is scared to step into retreat or a call?
I'm there with you. I felt that fear too. That something in you is creating this massive fear that's trying to keep you where you're at. And in order to step into something different, you got to walk through that fear, and it is worth it. You know, the fear may seem huge right now and could be paralyzing, but wait till you get to the other side.
And what we're hearing, what we've heard is, I'm not ready for retreat yet. I've got to get ready for it. That's what we keep hearing. I'm like, and so my question is, did you believe you had to get ready for retreat, or was all of that therapy to get you ready? What does that mean to you when you hear that? Because it's silly to us, and yet, what is that?
Right. I can't say that thought of getting ready entered my mind, but I Okay, for retreat, I didn't have that thought. I did think that for a couple of the calls. I got to get ready for that. I got to prepare myself. How do you prepare yourself for something that you've never done before? And how do you prepare for learning something that you've never been exposed to before? You don't. You dive in head first and you don't look back. It's worth the risk. You didn't know what was going to happen before you walked into the therapist's office, other than you're going to sit on a couch, they're going to sit in a chair, and you're going to talk. Well, look at the results. The results were the same every time. So try something new. Try something you've never done before. Who knows? This could change your whole life. I know it did for me.
And you're you're coming to a second retreat. Why are you choosing to do it again?
Because I've just gotten a taste of who I am and who I'm going to be. And I want to see it all. I want to be free of the emotional baggage that I've carried for years. And I'm well on my way. And I'm loving who I've become and who I'm becoming. When you said I was leaned into the mirror after the session, I've avoided looking at myself in the mirror all my life. And now I don't, because I like what I see. I like who I am. So why wouldn't I go back? I want more. I'm enjoying this.
Awesome. Is there anything that you choose to add, or there's something else that came up for you that we've yet to ask that you enjoyed about being with myself or with Carrie, or us as partners?
I've enjoyed I don't know if accountability is the right word for it, but the fact that what you're teaching me is a different way to look at life. And I'm not being corrected if I am not there, but you guys keep pointing me in the right direction. It's that, okay, is that true? Is that, it's so helpful. It's not here, let me give you a tissue, it's going to be okay. It's not that, because that's not helpful. That's not going to get me to where I want to be. It's digging in and doing the hard work. And cancel. It's not hard work. It's digging in and exploring and finding those parts of me that I didn't know were there anymore.
And you mentioned that when you came to retreat, one of the things you said was that you knew you had all this pain in your body and you had all these things going on. Will you say very specifically, like, what was going on? I do remember you calling me after you had signed up. I scheduled a call with you, and I remember you expressing some of it, and I'm requesting that you share exactly the pain that you were speaking of.
I have arthritis that has just riddled my body to the point where it's caused me to have a fusion in my neck. I've already had a knee replaced. So my bones, my joints, I just ache. I have pain in my chest. I have had I used to have consistent headaches. I had I had a liver condition, but they were unsure as to what it was. I had pain in my liver. They, took out my gallbladder, wanted to do all this other stuff. There was just pain in almost every part of my body, my toes, I mean, it was miserable. And the pain has begun to dissipate. I'm doing a career now that I've always wanted to do, and a choice of mine, but I'm on my feet a lot. And I couldn't have done that before because I was in too much pain. Now I can, because my feet don't hurt like they used to. So
How's your chest?
yeah, open. No more pain.
And your liver?
Pardon?
Your liver?
Oh, that I don't have any issues with anymore at all.
And the liver is all about resentment and anger.
Mm.
And your feet, do you have a completely new, easy way to understand yourself today?
Oh, yes.
And so this is what where our feet are. And the
And
headaches have subsided, have left. And because is it easy for you to choose now?
Yes.
and have you allowed yourself to remember and touch where you were and then let it go?
Yes.
Because our head often will have headaches because it's something we're trying not to remember. Like, I don't want to go back there in its memories. And if we'll allow ourselves to remember, we can
Yes.
remember and let it go with simply that much energy.
Yes.
Yes. And did you have a lot that you were choosing to forget?
Oh, yes.
And do you remember when the first activity, we were all on the floor and we have the body outline and we're playing with the listing of the things that we've experienced in life? And do you remember what I said to you about how courageous?
Yes.
And because had you believed in the past that you were too weak to handle any of this?
Oh, yes.
And did you become aware of the amount of courage that you've had all through life?
Absolutely, yes.
And the amount of your courageous love for you and your family.
Yes. That was something that kept me from really going into my feelings. And I think I ever talked to Carrie about this at that initial call too, was that I just felt like it was going to be so much. If I really opened the so-called Pandora's box of my feelings, that once I unleashed that, there would be no coming back. I wouldn't, I couldn't even be myself. I couldn't. And that's the belief that those emotions are going to control me, rule me. And that's so far from the truth. If we choose to feel them and walk through them, they're gone. I've made the choice to hang on to all those emotions for all these years, and I never had to.
Mhm. Awesome.
So awesome.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yes. I'm excited to be here and I'm thankful that I got that email, and then I had I had the will to say yes and to show up.
And who did you say yes to?
I said yes to me. Mm-hmm.
And was that the first time that you had ever said yes to you in something this big?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shawn. I appreciate you.
No,
Yes.
you're welcome.
Andrea, do you choose
I'm
to?
going to stop.